Um, Welcome back, everyone, to SoulBack. This is the R&B podcast. Kyle here, back with Tom and Ed. What's going on, guys?
What's up, players?
What's up? What's up? I did it, guys. I ate a chicken wing in full. I sent Ed the evidence.
First of all,
Ed, the
was-
results.
the results were still poor. Look, players,
Come on.
I will say that you did better with the removal of the chicken, but that top part had too much meat on it. There was enough
Listen,
there.
if you eat a chicken wing and there's bone showing, I think that counts as eating the thing entirely.
The bottom bone, but the top bone, there was no bone showing on the top.
Oh
You did
man.
a half job on that.
Oh, here we go
It's
again.
better, but it's not great.
So another week, another podcast. We've done a lot of different topics, but recently we've been showing love and celebrating these legendary producers. So 2 weeks ago we did Timbaland. Last week we did the Neptunes, and this week I think it's appropriate that we do Rodney Darkchild Jerkins.
hmm
Legendary producer, and to me, even when I call him a legend, I would also call him underrated.
I agree with that. And I think it's
That's fair.
because so much of his work, at least in my opinion, so much of his work we remember in like an era. We remember 98, 99, early 2000s. But if you look at his discography, it spans pretty much from the mid 90s to today. And there's so many tracks that y'all love that we're going to talk about today that I bet you did not even know was produced by Darkchild. So, and I think he should definitely be considered underrated, but one of the best.
That's the thing I was going to say as well, Ed, because Timbaland and the Neptunes, they were kind of out front. You knew it was their production most of the time. Rodney Jerkins did throw his name on the tracks at times, but you didn't always know it was his work. So he definitely flew under the radar at times, even though he was killing it behind the scenes.
Yep. And we got to give a shout out to Sean Stockman, who's joining us for this. He's tuned in as well. So shout
up,
out to
Sean?
Sean.
Oh, shout out to the homie. Great album himself.
Absolutely. Go check out that Sean album, Forward. I love that album still. But let's talk about Rodney Jerkins here. I mean, so much to uncover with his career, but I want to take it to the early parts here. This is one of the first productions that we came accustomed to knowing from Rodney. It's the Gina Thompson record, Ed.
Yes, and it's interesting because in 95, even though I love that song, I guess 96, I did not know at the time, because he was not the name that we know now. I didn't recognize that it was the Rodney Jerkins, the Darkchild, until a few years later. And then I went back and was like, oh, Darkchild did that. So we were talking earlier about how he had touched so many songs that people didn't really know. In 96, we didn't know, and we didn't realize how big his career would be.
I love hearing about this era, and shout out to the interview you did with him, Kyle. If everyone hasn't checked that out, check it out on the site now, and how he even made it into the game. It's a really interesting story. But I mean, the interesting thing about that song too is the remix is the one that gets the credit.
Yep.
And the original is pretty dope too, though.
Yeah. You know what's crazy about Rodney? When I interviewed him, he told me like his journey started like super early on. Like he was working with Teddy Riley early on. And like this was in his teens. And Tom, like we talked to Robin Thicke as well recently, and he started in his teens, like 15, 16. It's just crazy to see how these future stars, they started grinding like super early. Ed, at 15 years old, I was still figuring out how to do like trigonometry and stuff.
Yes, me too. But it's so important because it's something that's lost today. We expect so much immediate results from people. You come out, if you aren't multi-platinum with a zillion streams, your first go round, we need to throw you away. But so many of these legends, they build upon their legacy because they took the time to start out grinding, and they learned and they got better behind the scenes. So by the time they blew up, they had experience on that side, and they knew what they wanted to do, and they had a foundation. So I love to hear these stories about the artists we love, the years they spent grinding, because that's what really got them to where they are today.
Yeah.
And Kyle and Ed, I'm pretty sure when I was 15, I was spending all my time playing Mario Kart on Nintendo 64. I was not trying to make productions and songwrite.
Me and you both on those red shells. Yes, that's what I was doing.
Oh man, you guys didn't have a number one hit at 15 or 16?
Can't say that I did.
Not even close.
Unfortunate. Let's get into Rodney's production afterwards. So we had that Gina Thompson record, and then we had the Aaliyah record off, One in a Million. But I mean, I think all of us really became aware that Rodney was going to be dominating for a while. I think the first one was the Joe record, Don't Want to Be a Player. Tom, you love this
Mm.
song.
Love that song. And again, that's not one I knew was him until years after, because I didn't check the liner notes at the time and really have interest in even looking. So years later, I found that that was his work. Really dope song. And, one of my favorite Joe songs.
And then Ed, at the same time, you have the Mary J. Blige Share My World album.
Mm.
Break down
Yeah.
this album for me, Ed, because this album is a little different than Mary's first two. I think Rodney helped out with bringing a new sound with records like Share My World, I Can't Love You. Like, just talk about that era of Mary.
Because this is one of my favorite Mary albums. That one's on the wall there too. And I'll say that was one of the first times, because I used to read the liner notes. That was one of the first times I remember his name popping up a lot. And I was like, okay. I would always look and see who did the tracks that I loved. And I loved I Can Love You. I love the title track. So when I'm seeing this name popping up in familiar places, I'm like, okay, this brother's got something. But when we look back at the sound of this album, and shout out to my boy Eric, we just had a discussion about this on Twitter yesterday. So Mary was an artist who always evolved with every project. So we heard the kind of dark and almost sullen sound of the second album that everyone loves. This was a brighter sound for Mary, brighter in the sense of the writing and the direction and the tone of the lyrics, but the production was still very soulful, still had the hip hop edge on some of the songs, but it was a kind of a marriage between the hip hop soul and the soul that would really take off in the 99 Mary album. My man Darkchild was the bridge of that two sounds. And this is why this album sounds so much different than the previous one. But in my opinion, still one of her best albums. Number 2 on the list for me.
Mm.
I just found the Mary song I didn't know he did during this era. The song "A Dream" from the Money Talk soundtrack. I didn't know that
I
was
love
him.
that song. Yes.
Dope song.
I mean, Tom, let's go back to I Can Love You. Can we just give Little Kim a shout out? Because her verse, like the way she enters that verse it's crazy. I haven't heard anything like that.
Yeah, one of the best guest feature rap verses, and that's one that still gets people hyped when you put it on that record, and especially Kim coming on the track.
Yeah.
Love to hear that one.
One of my favorites of all time, and nobody comes into a track stomping like your girl Kim. Every time she had a verse, she just had this amazing opening line that stuck with you. And that I told you once, I told you twice. I quote it to this day.
Let me ask you guys a question though. As we're going through some of these songs, something I'm noticing is a lot of use of samples. Now, the first two artists we talked about, or producers we talked about, Timbaland and the Neptunes, weren't really as sample heavy. Kind of came with creative sounds. Do you guys hold that against Darkchild at all for flipping? Because there's a whole generation that hates the era that started using samples and everything. How do you guys take his use of them?
That's an interesting question. I'm glad you asked it, because back then, because I can speak from this experience, a lot of the generation before me, like my aunts and uncles, and even some of my older cousins, didn't really like sampling, because they were like, oh, they're just stealing hits from the past. They're riding off the hits. You're just vibing to the original song. You aren't vibing to the new song. And we hear a little bit of that today with artists when they decide to sample 90s stuff. I like a good sample if it's used effectively. If you're just singing over a old beat, that's kind of lazy to me. But if you take a production and you put a different spin on it, it works two ways, because it has the familiarity. So your ears perk up because you're like, okay, I know this song. It sounds like a hit. But then when you put your own flavor to it, then it's like, okay, you own this version of the song. I like a good sample, and I think it works.
I mean, I'll look at it like this, because I think a lot of the songs that were being sampled in the 90s, they were sampling songs from like the 70s and the 60s. Those were songs that I didn't fully know. I didn't grow up with. I didn't have emotional attachments to. So when I listen to songs like from today, like Tank just released a record that samples Maxwell's A Woman's Work, and it's like, I know that Maxwell record. And so I think my reaction to that is a little different because I grew up with that Maxwell record. So I don't think there's anything wrong with sampling, but sometimes when they sample records that I grew up with, it kind of hits a little different. It's like, don't touch that. And I love that Tank record, so this is not a shot at Tank, but samples are just, it's a sensitive spot. I think when it's done well, I love it, but I don't know. Today, I feel like samples aren't being used creatively. Like I love the Her record. Damage, and I know the original song too, but it just has to be done tastefully, and it's a tough one. I don't hold it against anyone that samples, but you got to come correct on it.
Kyle, you become our parents because they were saying the same thing about our. I mean, we talk about "I Can Love You." That sampled a Lil Kim song that was like not even a year old. So when I heard that, I was like, "What?" But each their own. It doesn't bother me if it's done well. It doesn't bother me.
Let's talk about another record here that Rodney did. Tatiana Ali's "Daydreaming." Ed, people love this record.
Yes, this song, I'm telling y'all, it's hard to say if you weren't around in 98. I'm telling y'all, I love this song. I thought she was going to be huge. I thought she was going to be in the trajectory that we saw with Brandy, with Moesha. You see this TV star and she starts to do her R&B thing. She already has the fame. She has a hot song. I like Daydreaming a lot. I think it was, it wasn't number one, but it definitely did extremely well. It was everywhere. That was kind of really her only shot at the top. But I thought this was the one and she was going to be next level. So shout out to my boy for doing that one. That was another good one and very underrated in his discography.
Tom, let's talk about Brandy, Never Say Never here. Can it be considered that The Boy Is Mine is the biggest R&B duet of all time?
Of all time? Wow, on the spot. I'm answering that question. I'm going to say, with no research or knowledge, I'm just going to say no. Just because
it is a no.
What's
a big old no?
What's one that's bigger than that?
The top.
Go ahead, Tom.
Something that came out probably years before it, which I don't know at this moment. But Luther Vandross and somebody, Stevie Wonder and somebody is probably my answer, but I can't think right now. Let us know in the comments.
For our generation.
Marvin and Tammy. You got to look at for your generation, for our generation, maybe. But it ain't bigger than Marvin and Tammy. Come on, y'all. Like, it ain't nowhere near that.
What song is that?
What song did you all I need? Oh, my God.
I'm just kidding.
You thought
isn't that a Method Man song?
Oh, see,
that's a Method Man song, isn't it?
This is why I need to be on the podcast. You don't know a sample when you hear it.
Oh, man.
No, but Tom, The Boy Is Mine, massive song. It was just epic to see Monica and Brandy coming together for a record. And that's a song, like, you have songs that are good for a year or two, but this record has lasted. It's over. I'm trying to do the math here. It's over 20 years now at this point.
Yeah. I remember when it came out. I remember the video vividly. The only thing I didn't like, I almost felt like it pitted those two artists against each other when it was more like a fun collaboration. And people were almost like choosing sides at the time, and unfortunately, it looks like they still are, which I hate.
Are.
but man, his work on that album. I know, Kyle, you should be the one to talk about it a bit more. But epic stuff.
Yeah, I posted this on our Instagram yesterday. I felt like the debut was awesome. I love Brandy's debut, but this like took it to a different level. It kind of brought her into superstardom. Just the songs and how they were structured, the production. I think Rodney did an amazing job with it. It had a more advanced sound than what we had heard in R&B. And Angel in Disguise, listen to that song. That tells you everything you need to know about Brandy and Darkchild in 1998.
Player, forget that. Put me on, and put that on everything. Put me on. So many. I love that album. So many album cuts. I've told y'all before, when the album cuts are better than the singles, because the singles on that album were good, but the album cuts to me were incredible. When you have that level of hidden gems, you got a great album.
And the thing that's interesting to me about this album is obviously it helped springboard both of their careers. But to me, it was a little bit of a risk for Brandy to take Darkchild to do the whole album, because he wasn't like, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but he wasn't one of the biggest producers yet at that time.
He was a new producer.
Not at the time, no.
Yeah. So it was, to me, it was a bit of a risk, and it paid off big time for both of them.
Yeah. Now,
this was his coming out party and hers. Yeah. She was already a star, but this launched her. This launched him.
Mm-hmm. And then the record with Mace, Top of the World. We forget how big Mace was at that time, but he was huge.
Oh, I know.
You were not a Mace fan?
I was not a Mace fan. The original mumble rapper. No, I was not.
Oh, man. He had swag, though, Ed.
He had something, but I didn't like it.
Wait, isn't his first album a classic?
It depends who you ask. If you ask Twitter, The Weeknd has 4 classics. You ask me,
Oh.
I got a different opinion.
Tom, is it a
I
classic?
mean, it's considered a classic, I guess, here. It always bothered me that he was smiling all the time. Ed, what was he so happy
I don't know. I guess if you're running around with Puff and you got like money just stuffed out of your pillow, you smiling about everything. I like the original Mace when he was hanging around with the Children of the Corn.
about?
And Cameron. That's a combo for another time. We'll talk about that later. Murder Mace was my favorite Mace, not Smiling Mace.
We love Mace.
Yeah.
At that same time as the Brandy album, we have the Whitney Houston album. It's not right.
Can I say something very well, of course I'm going to say something very controversial.
Oh,
We love Darkchild and Brandy. I might love Darkchild.
Don't say it.
Whitney
Oh, wow. Really?
damn.
just as much. I'm not
Hold
going to
on.
say more, but to me, it's 1A and 1B. I love the work he did on this album. Absolutely love it. And
Hold
the
up.
chemistry they had, I felt it's so underrated.
Let me take a look at this track list here. My Love Is Your Love. It's not right, but it's okay. Smash.
Mm-hmm.
If I Told You That, that's actually a really good song.
One of my favorites.
Get It Back, that is also a very good song. I Bow Out, also a very good song. Okay.
I come with the receipts, player.
Yeah,
If I said it, I said it.
That's a pretty good body of work right there.
I love their chemistry. And we don't talk enough about that pairing, but I feel like that pairing was one that I really want to see again. That really gave Whitney a new sound. We were talking earlier, shout out to Sean, because I thought about it when Tom and I were talking kind of offline about Boyz II Men going into the next millennium. I really wish they could have like done some stuff with him around that mid 2000s time, because I feel like he could have pulled just something different out of them. That's what Darkchild was able to do with a Brandy and a Whitney. And when you've already got the talent, man, you could just go to the next level with that.
So 1999, 98, 99. Tom, I'm going to mention one of your favorite songs of all time here. So brace yourself for this one.
I'm ready.
The Coko records, Sunshine.
Yes, I knew it was coming. That production is epic, Ed. I love that song. It was like, to me, it was a perfect coming out as, for Coko as a solo artist. Unfortunately, that album didn't get the attention it deserved, but
which is ridiculous. I like that song. This is another album where I like that song, but the album cuts were even better to me. That is a really good album. If y'all haven't heard it, please go check out Hot Coko. I love that album so much. And again, more chemistry found with Darkchild. He did a few tracks on that joint.
Yep.
You know what I love about that beat too? The song is called Sunshine. The production feels like a ray of sunshine when you hear it.
Yeah.
I felt like it went perfect.
And the video, she's like on the side of a cliff, and it looked like she's in paradise. Like it was, I thought it was a hit. I was like, okay, Coco's next up. And we just didn't get it. It surprised me.
We need more songs like that in 2021. There's too much like sad, depressing, moody music. I just want to feel uplifted and just feel great. And once I play that, I know I'm going to feel good after.
That's what we need. I've been saying it. We need something with some energy, please.
Yep.
So are you putting money that Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak will be able to do this for you, Ed?
I got money on the table. I got money. I can't wait. I'm going to be throwing stars at Tom's head. He's going to be annoyed, but I can't wait.
I've never been listened to an Anderson .Paak record yet.
You haven't? They're pretty good.
No.
They're pretty good. The last album was very good.
Anyways, I'll tell you what else is good here. Ed, one of your favorite artists here. Jennifer Lopez, If You Had My Love.
See, I was about to strangle you, but I love that song.
Oh, Kyle, you messed up. You messed up, Kyle.
I know. I got another one in my bag. Don't worry. You'll love the next one, Tom.
Well, see, you almost messed up because if we were talking about your era, Murder Inc., J-Lo, yes, trash. But I love that song, and I love that one. Of all the songs that are sitting out here on the old shelf, I've got the single of If You Had My Love. Fun song.
But are we not going to acknowledge the fact that Shantae Moore has a song that sounds like exactly like that record?
Which I didn't realize until you brought this up like a year or two ago. And I'm like, well, yeah, now you ruined it. But I don't care. I still love the J-Lo song. It's the one J-Lo song I love. Don't take this from me.
Tom,
Can I?
Yep, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was like, can I backtrack to a song we missed?
Yes.
But go ahead. Finish what you're gonna say.
Well, I was gonna say with this J-Lo record, because you're from New York and J-Lo was obviously a big thing at that time. How big was that record over there?
No, it was huge here. I remember her album was called On the Six, which obviously is a New York subway train, and she was huge here. And I didn't even really know her because I don't watch movies. Ed, you know that, right?
I know it, unfortunately.
But I mean, I remember all the singles coming one by one. I don't think it was a Darkchild song, but that song with Big Pun and Fat Joe, man. Now that's a feel good song right there. Feeling so good.
Yep.
Yeah, I forgot about that song. It was not bad.
What were you going to say, Tom?
I want to backtrack to 98. Monica's The Boy Is Mine. I mean, sorry, not The Boy Is Mine. Angel of Mine.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
I like that one a lot.
Yep.
That's one I wanted to mention.
That was a remake, though, right? I think that was like a remake of another, like
Was that a remake?
song. I believe so. I need a fact check on that one, guys.
Fact check in the comments, please.
Fact check in the comments. I want to say it is, but I can't think of who made it, so I won't speak until I look that up.
I'll bring up another record here, guys. Damn by So Plush. Ed, what happened to So Plush?
Man,
So
what a
Plush.
Man, what a great blast from the past. What was that? Like the Blue Streak soundtrack? It was some random soundtrack. I love that song with Ja Rule on the beat. I don't know what happened, but I heard their album on YouTube a year or two ago, and it's not bad. Yes, shout out to So Plush.
Shout outs to Ja.
I forgot about those chicks.
Shout outs to Ja Rule for doing charity work.
Oh my God.
My guy.
Man. This is 99. He was looking for those checks.
Yeah.
I think Holla Holla was out by then.
It was. No,
Yeah.
No, it was out by then.
Yeah, come on. Now let's talk about the Destiny's Child record, Say My Name. I think this is probably, arguably, I don't know, it's either this or The Boy Is Mine, Darkchild's biggest hit. Is it fair to say that?
Probably so. This song was everywhere.
Yeah.
And I remember it took me off guard because the album was already out for a while and they had other singles. But then this one came out and it just exploded and was everywhere. And I was like, it was like people were rediscovering Destiny's Child for the first time off of this single. So it was a big one.
My most memorable thing about it is Darkchild 99 at the beginning of the song.
Yep.
It made me think, was that the first time he shouted out his tag?
Well, Coko on the Coko record, she says Darkchild 99 as well.
Got it.
This was the era of the Darkchild tag. I can't remember which one is the first, but this is definitely when you started to hear.
Was he one of the first to do that?
I want to say yes.
Because I'm thinking back.
Think of too many.
I mean, obviously, Jermaine Dupri used to shout on tracks, but he was on the song. I mean, that was different. He was an artist too.
Yeah, as far as just shouting on the track and not like being a featured rapper or like Puff, where he's just mumbling on the track like DJ Clue.
Yeah, like
I can't think of anybody just shouting out their tag before him. I don't want to say, oh, he's the first, because somebody's going to say, oh, you forgot about DJ Rubber Band. But other than that, he may be.
DJ Rubber Band.
Yeah, because Ed, if you think about it, Timbaland during that era, he may be beatboxing and ad-libbing over it, but he doesn't literally say Timbaland on the beat.
Yeah, no,
right.
He never did.
I can't think of anyone before him.
Midnight R&B edition said Rodney Jerkins started the tagline. So I thought that. I was thinking about that earlier in the day. I was like, was he? I was trying to think about it. I can't recall anyone else either, except for DJ Rubber Band Man was maybe the first Ed, I think.
Yeah, I was the Taliban. Yeah, he was shouting them out in 92 or something.
Now, before we hop onto the new millennium, the year 2000, I got to mention these songs that Mr. Darkchild did. Tom, you'll appreciate these ones.
All right.
Brian McKnight, Played Yourself, and Brian McKnight, Stay or Let It Go. Those are some great records right there.
Some great records. I like how, Brian McKnight has a very distinct sound. It's definitely adult R&B, and these kind of fit his sound. I didn't feel like he pushed too far outside the box. So as like Brian McKnight on that Bad Boy song was a bit different. But this one, these I felt worked.
Yeah. Ed, what were your thoughts on the Spice Girl record Holler?
Shout out to, I'm sure Derry is somewhere around here lurking, waiting for us to shout that out. I remember that song because this is when Spice Girls were hot as I don't know what at that time. So Darkchild doing his thing on it, giving it some new flavor. Shout out to them. The song was all right, but boy, it was one that's remembered. If I think of Spice Girl songs, that's one of the few I can think of. One of the literal 3 I can think of.
But Tom,
wow, there's some Keith Sweat songs on this discography I'm seeing from Darkchild. We're just gonna graze those over or what?
Tom, I didn't even know he did Keith Sweat records. Ed, what songs are these?
That's what I'm saying. What Darkchild Keith Sweat songs?
I have the discography.
Oh wait, is it Put You On? Did he do that?
Yes.
I forgot about that. He did do Put You On.
I do
like that one.
So you're saying that one was forgettable? Okay.
It was not forgettable because King Keith was on it. It was magnificent. But I did forget. And again, he's got the tag on it at the beginning. So Darkchild knew what he was doing with those tags.
And he definitely knew what he was doing on He Wasn't Man Enough by Toni Braxton. I remember this song. It was huge. The music video was huge. And this brought Toni into the new millennium. A lot of artists struggled to break through in 2000, but Rodney gave Toni a huge hit with this one.
This one was so much fun. And Toni, again, was another evolution. We talked about the evolution of Mary. This is an evolution for Toni. Lots of energy, even though she was being sassy and telling her dude off. I guess telling the girl off, too. But I love just the sound and energy that Darkchild put around it. And it just made it so fun. It's just a fun record.
It's definitely, if you look at that song compared to what came before for her, it was definitely a lot different. I mean, she was kind of slow and, the tempo was kind of low. And this was kind of out there in your face. And I think this was a bit of a risk too for her.
It was
definitely. And it definitely worked. I mean, I could get into it. It wasn't like, a lot of times we see artists trying new things and it feels forced. This didn't feel forced to me. It kind of felt like a natural progression. So I like it.
Do you guys think people in that era were more open to change than they are today?
In some ways. I do remember some pushback to this song, I will say. It wasn't like everybody embraced it wholly. I think just the difference today is y'all just miserable today. And it's just like everybody runs to Twitter to holler on the screen. And we didn't have Twitter back then to complain and to elevate the complaints. But for the most part, I do think that people were more excited and more accepting of their artists coming back. So when Toni comes back, it's like, oh, what's Toni got? Oh, this is a new sound. It's not like, well, it didn't sound like the last album. This is trash. It was different, but it worked.
I'll say, though, back in 2000, before social media and everything now, I feel like when a song was played on radio enough, you were conditioned to think it was good.
Yeah.
So, like, even if you didn't like it at first and eventually you just kept hearing it and it grew on you, you just eventually thought it was good because the radio kept playing it. I feel like back then, before we could hear everyone's different opinions and know more than we do now and hear, independent artists, really it was just everything was force fed to us. And we really just thought if it was a number one single, it must be good. Now it's a lot different, obviously, with people on social media, but it was a totally different time back then, if you guys remember.
I definitely. And one other point along with that I think is lost today is that you had time for a song to grow on you. Because we only had radio. So there are many songs, even that song I thought was okay at first, but I eventually grew to love it. Today, you hear it one time, and you're like, oh, it's trash. And then you just go to the next because you have a personal playlist of a gazillion songs that you can just tune yourself out to. So you don't have time for the music to really grow on you unless you force yourself to.
So what we're implying here is that people on social media today will listen to a song for 30 seconds and deem it a classic?
Oh,
yes,
man.
30, 15 maybe.
Yeah. Once that drum hits, classic.
Oh, man.
We got to do better, guys.
We need to do better.
Another album that came out is Michael Jackson's Invincible album. Rodney did the bulk of this album. It had been quite some time since Mike put out an album. You Rock My World comes out first. Chris Tucker's in the music video. I remember how big this moment was. It's kind of weird, though, because I thought the song was bigger than it was. But when I look at the charts, it wasn't a super smash It was like number 13 on the Billboard 100, which nothing wrong with that, but I always thought it was like a huge, huge smash, Ed.
Yeah, I told you that 106 in Park effect. A lot of times there's songs that you just feel like a big deal because if you're watching TRL or AJ and Free and it's the number one song and you think that kind of aligns with the charts, that's not necessarily the case. I remember when You Know Art My World debuted on BET and they were like showing it on a loop. So yes, this return to music was a huge deal. And it's an album that I've gone on record to say I didn't dislike it, but I thought it was meh at the time, but it has grown on me a great deal over the years. And I think that the reception to the album has gotten a lot stronger over the years as well.
I like that song a lot. I don't know if it's just you being cranky about it, Ed, or people in general don't like it. I can't remember which it was. I feel like it's a mixed review on that song for some reason, but I love it.
Well, for the most part, I feel like most people like that single, but the album people were kind of more mixed. I wasn't big into the single, but again, it's just like an album that I grew to love later on.
And Kyle, to reference your interview with Darkchild again, I loved hearing some of the story of that. But can you even imagine being a producer and being in the studio with Michael Jackson at the time, like the magnitude and the pressure you must feel to be around such greatness like that?
Yep.
I mean, it's epic stuff.
Yeah, because like when you look at Michael Jackson, he's the biggest artist of all time.
Yeah.
And he's making this mega comeback, and Rodney at that time must be younger than 22, I would imagine. And you got to deliver a hit, Ed.
When Michael Jackson is sitting across from you or next to you, you cannot come in here with some old halfway made beats or some, I gave this to Monica, she ain't like it. You want this? Like that ain't gonna work for Michael. So you got to come hard, and good for him for living up to the pressure and delivering because half that album is Rodney. So he did the thing.
Hey, when we talked to Robin Thicke, he wasn't even allowed to be in the same room as Michael when he was recording the song he wrote for him. I mean, he had to hold the glass up to the freaking studio door.
Yep.
I've heard that from other artists too. Yes. Michael was that big.
Yeah.
So at the same time, I think this happened around the same time actually, like simultaneously, but Rodney goes on, links back up with Brandy and does the album we know known as Full Moon. People on Twitter call this the greatest album of all time. I'm actually surprised to see how many people call this like a super influential album. I think over the last 8 years or so, that's really sparked up from this new generation of R&B lovers. But when I look back at that album, like What About Us is a cool single, but some of those album cuts I really like.
Yeah, it's a good album. I do think that its worth has been exaggerated over the past few years, but a lot of that, music is relative, and there are a lot of fans who are in their 20s now where that album was one of their first beloved R&B albums, and it is a great album, no question. So if this is your early experience with R&B, for your ears, this is what R&B should sound like, especially when it's delivered with the quality and masterfulness. I mean, vocally, Brandy, this may be her best album vocally. So of course you're gonna go back to it and be like, this was the album that made me love R&B. So this is the album that I feel like is on this top level. It's a good album, but I don't think it's her best. I don't think it changed the world. It was just a good album, y'all. Chill out.
Well, it's interesting to think about because Rodney Jerkins was killing it, over the past 5 years from this time and dominating. And then if you look at This Is Worth, you started to see, I don't want to say slip ups, but he didn't get the lead single on that album. Full Moon was written and produced by Mike City, which is probably the best song on the album, in my opinion.
Wait, wasn't What About Us that came up before Full Moon?
Yeah, I meant that was the biggest hit from the album.
What About Us was big, wasn't it? Hold on, let me see.
What About Us was big. I don't know which one was bigger, but What About Us?
I didn't think What About Us was big at all. Was it big?
It was big, did fine. Yeah. But Full Moon, I would say, Tom, is the one that's lasted longer.
Plus, that's the album was titled after that song. So, yes. I mean, that's almost like a slight to Rodney Jerkins since he did the previous album. And then the title of the album went to a song done by someone else. But then, same year, you might have been bringing the song up, but Monica's All Eyes on Me
Oh yeah.
which is a cool song, but it didn't get released. It got shelved. Not his fault,
Yeah.
but
I like
it's
that song,
interesting
by the
That's
way.
a great
to look
song.
at. No,
Is it
that is a really good song.
Is it Monica dancing in that song, Ed?
Yes, Monica. That whole album just didn't. That whole album didn't make it, and that album isn't bad at all. Again, you can find it if you know where to look, but those are decent albums.
Did they shelve it because that song performed poorly, or some other issue?
I can't remember if that was it or she was just having some issues at the time, some personal issues going on.
Gotcha.
I can't remember the story, but there was a definite reason why it didn't happen. But I feel like I saw the video like twice and it vanished.
Yeah.
So it was almost like they pulled the plug more so than it just didn't work.
Yeah. It's crazy about that, just to circle back to Brandy, because there's a lot of great songs on here. When You Touch Me obviously is a great one. Nothing, like that whole body of work I think is great.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it my favorite Brandy album, but I think there are some really good songs on there. But that What About Us beat, that is the Darkchild early 2000s bounce. I don't know if that's aged all that well today.
It feels a product of its time. And
Yeah.
as much as I love, you know me, your boy gonna keep it real. As much as I love Darkchild, this was around the time where we talked about this with Neptune's last week, where his sound just started. You knew what a Darkchild song sounded like because
Yeah.
they were starting to sound kind of similar. And this was the era. It was like, okay, here's a Darkchild joint. So yeah, it's a good song in a vacuum, but at the time, it was kind of like, okay, that's the sound, and it just feels very much like the time period.
Yeah.
I guess we got to go into 2003 now.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the biggest moments for me, as I grew up listening to R&B, was his work on the Honey soundtrack for the group Black, the record I'm Good. Do you guys remember that one?
Great song.
Yes. Honey
I like that
soundtrack
song.
is behind me somewhere, no question.
That was a great song. And at that same time, Tom, he worked on some records with Third Story. What happened to them?
Third Story. I'm glad you brought them up. I was looking here. I didn't realize they were on Def Soul at the time when this single came out. But what happened to them? I don't. They kind of disappeared after around this time. I don't even think this album ever came out. Their first album, I remember.
Yeah, I don't think it did. They're another one that kind of I remember in and out in that weird early. There was a lot of groups that kind of came out in the early 2000s.
Yeah. So they didn't make it. But this song is cool, actually. I like this song.
After that, I think we get into the second phase of Rodney's career, which is important for every artist, is to consistently switch up your sound and bring a new style. This is actually my favorite Darkchild era. This is the mid 2000s. We start off with the Destiny Child record, Lose My Breath, but then we also have Cater to You Guys. Those were both big records.
This is, and I know it's funny. We're talking about this in the Cypher, the Soul and Stereo Cypher on Facebook. Y'all can roll through and join us to chat about this stuff all day long, 24/7. I can't even keep up. But I really like this album, and a lot of the singles that came were courtesy of Rodney Jerkins, and he did his thing on them. This is maybe my favorite Destiny Child album, and he was like knocking them out left and right. And the difference is these sounded different than the traditional Darkchild sound, and that's what I appreciated about them.
You know what my favorite thing about this Destiny's Child album is, Kyle?
What is it?
I'm just kidding. I never listened to it.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
I gotta throw one of those in there every time. Come on.
Unfortunately, yes.
Mm-hmm.
However, Kyle, he did a song around the time for one of your favorite artists, Kyle.
Who?
Lloyd.
He did.
The song Trance.
I don't remember that song. That's
I
on his
don't
debut,
remember
right?
this song.
On his debut, yeah.
Oh.
Hmm.
I need to go back because I don't
Yeah.
remember that one.
Yeah. But Tom, he also did a song for one of your favorite artists. We talk about him every week.
Who?
Your boy, Ray J, One Wish.
Oh,
We
God.
talk about Ray J every week. I must have missed some weeks.
I've
Tom.
already given my statement on Ray J. Do I need to keep speaking on it?
Okay,
No.
well, Ed, can we talk about the One Wish record? If you ask my generation, That song, "So Sick" by Neo, and Mario, "Let Me Love You" are the 3 biggest R&B records of all time.
I don't know why. And again, that was another big song, but that's another song I never got the just undying love for. People love that song. And it's right, it's your generation, because I remember when I was like doing mentoring in Louisville around this time, it's like 04, 05. The kids love this song. And I was like, all right, it's all right. It's not bad, but I don't know. Maybe when you got young middle school love, this is a song for you.
Do you realize, guys, if you would put on Ray J's One Wish today for young kids, they would probably think that Ray J's vocals are the equivalent of what we think Stevie Wonder is.
Yes,
compared to what they're hearing now.
I mean, compared to what they got, maybe it is.
Oh, man.
No, that's an amazing song right there.
I guess.
You guys are hating. And then we had the Bobby V record, Turn the Page, which sounded very identical to it, but we'll talk about that another time. My computer seems to be acting up right now. So guys, give me 1 second. I'm trying to figure out what's happening. It's lagging really badly.
Yeah, you're frozen on my end, but we can hear you fine.
Don't worry, I'll keep the discussion going, Ed. I found another one from one of your favorite artists in the meantime.
Oh boy, which one of my favorites is it this time?
The song is, and we're gonna need a translation on this song. It's "Drop That Heater," and the artist is Omarion.
Oh my God! From Icebox to dropping a heater, this dude just could not get his temperature together.
That was from Omarion's debut. Couldn't say I was a fan of that one.
I remember that album though, no question.
Is Kyle still frozen? All right, I'll keep it going.
Yeah.
I'm on. All right, we're in 2005. Mary J's The Breakthrough album.
Yep.
The song Enough Crying. Do you remember that one?
I do, and I really like that song. I think it was an official single, but it's just for some reason just didn't get the attention. But I like that one a lot. That album to me is just full of little gems like that, and this is one of them. So love Enough Crying and love this album of Mary, this era of Mary.
Yep. Here we go. Now here's a good one. Sharifa, I Need a Boss.
Yo, that song is crazy.
Oh, Sharifa. Sharifa, I thought was going to be a lot bigger than she was. She was on DTP, which was that was a big deal at the time, running around with Luda. Luda was a gigantic star. We don't celebrate him enough, in my opinion, for being both mainstream and extremely talented. He was the best of both worlds. But Sharifa was there, and I can't remember if this is another 106 in Park effect. I remember this being a big song. Maybe it really wasn't, but it definitely was all over BET at the time.
I don't think it was huge, but then again, I'd have to check. Kyle, I got to slow down. We're getting up to your favorite era right here, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I gotta figure out what's going on with my computer. It's lagging really bad.
Because we got. Now I'll bring up this song actually, because this one I actually didn't even realize was Rodney Jerkins.
Okay.
Deja Vu, Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Yes. Yep. Yes. And again, this is another Rodney Jerkins song that doesn't sound like him at all. And I didn't at the time either. This was another one people made a big deal about this one when it debuted. And it's a fun song. This is another song that grew on me because at the time there was so much hype. I was like, it's fine. I don't get the hype. But as time has moved on, I've really embraced it. It's one of my favorite songs. I love her performance of it as well. Yep, he did his thing on this one.
Now, would you consider that one timeless, or is that one to you now dated? How do you view that one?
No, I don't feel like this one's dated at all. I think that it doesn't. I mean, I guess it sounds a little bit like its era, but it doesn't sound so stuck in 2001 as like he wasn't man enough with those fast strings or whatever. So I think there's enough energy to it that it feels current as well. So in some ways, I might hesitate to call it timeless, but it definitely has extended its existence. Feels like it's out of 2006, which is a good thing.
All right, I'm back now. I just have to charge my laptop.
oh boy,
this guy's gonna go dead and kill us all. I think if your laptop goes down, it's over for this whole podcast.
It is, but where are we? Have we talked about the Mary J. Blige record Enough Crying yet, Tom?
Oh,
where she's rapping?
Yes.
You enough late, player. We've been talked about that.
So where are we at now?
We
Well,
just discussed Beyonce.
let's bring in the Tamia Between Friends album, Kyle.
Ooh.
You want to bring that one in?
Oh
We
yeah,
love that album.
let's talk about that one. Can't get enough.
Yes, my song, one of her
Great.
best songs.
But I'll tell you what's a better song than that. And it's not Too Grown for That, Ed, but it's the song The Way That I Love You.
Yes, I agree.
That's a pretty good song. Is it better? I might give you that. It's just
Neck
as
and
good.
neck, I'd say.
Question.
They're
It's
both
up
right there. That's one of Tamia's best.
What about Too Grown for That? That doesn't really sound like a Tamia record.
Nah,
It's sort of a banger.
it's okay.
I like it. It's not
solid.
bad at all. Where's Nicolette? She needs to weigh in on this. She's a resident Tamia expert.
She's in here.
All right. What'd she say?
No, she didn't respond yet. I just saw her in the chat.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna name a couple more records here. Then Megan Rochelle, The One You Need. I don't know if you remember that one, Ed, but I love that song.
We discussed that, Kyle, when you were out of commission.
Am I that far away?
I'm just kidding. No, we didn't.
We didn't get down that
Megan
far.
Rochelle, Kyle, come on.
Hey, we made it. That's when you know you've made it. The Jay Yo, this is my generation right here. Jay Holiday's Be With Me, Sierra's Can't Leave Him Alone, and Ed, Keyshia Cole's Shoulda Let You Go. Big song.
Keyshia Cole Shoulda Let You Go. Yes, Keyshia was all. This was like when she was kind of peak Keyshia doing her thing. And again, and I think you missed this, Kyle, when we were talking about this. This is the era of Darkchild where Darkchild didn't sound like Darkchild anymore. And I like that. I like that he broke away from that early 2000s super fast strings that we were used to. So this is something different and it worked.
I almost feel like this is around the time I started tuning him out, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
These weren't the type of artists I was into at the time.
Well, this was the era where we were tuning everybody out because we're getting into the late 2000s, and this is when stuff started getting kind of rough. Let's just keep it real. But the songs we mentioned are good. It just overall, we started seeing cracks in the R&B foundation.
Well, I just remembered a song. I'm going to bring this one up, Tom. One of your favorite groups of all time.
Oh, God.
B5. All
B5.
I Do. Ed, that was huge on 106 in Park.
The
Jackson 5 record. That was huge.
Weren't they standing on a bus? All I remember is them standing on a bus.
Yeah.
But yes, that was a big record at the time. And it was a decent remake. I thought it was solid.
Mm-hmm.
There's some B5 stands around here. They'll shoot you if you aren't careful.
That's true.
Oh, no. I better not say this or I'm going to get shot. But I actually didn't even know they sung. Because I went to their listening event and all they did was dance. They put on the song and just danced. I just thought they were dancing. I don't know.
What, you thought they were a dance troupe? You didn't know they were singing?
They just danced to music. I don't know.
Oh, boy. All right. We got to wrap this up because I think D'Angelo's Versus thing is coming up in like 10 minutes.
Oh, I forgot that was tonight.
Yeah. So I think we'll have to end off this decade with a couple of records here. We have Feedback by Janet Jackson. I think she says Asian persuasion in the song, which is why I liked it.
Oh my God, calm down.
You would get canceled for that. If
yes, you would. That would not work 10 years later.
That's true. And then the Brandy album. This Brandy album is hated by many. It has the record Right Here Departed, which was a decent hit. And then Long Distance, which was written by Bruno Mars. But this album does not get love on social media, Ed. Why?
Which is weird because it's not terrible. Like, it's not, there are worse albums, and I will not name them because I don't feel like fighting with y'all all night. But there are worse albums in her discography than this one. This was I will say it was a little disappointing because we heard that this was the reunion of Brandy and Darkchild, and we thought it was going to be Full Moon / Never Say Never. And the songs weren't bad, but the energy just wasn't there. And I think I've told this before when we talk about these sequel albums and we expect people to suddenly turn back the clock and sound like they sounded 10 years ago. You can't do that. You're a different person. So I think that's one thing that kind of had expectations were set too high. It wasn't a horrible album at all. None of these songs were bad. Maybe not really memorable, but certainly not bad.
And just to bring it up to date here, because I mean, we could go on into the 2010s as well.
Yeah.
But to bring it up to date, I didn't even realize he did it, but he did her record Hard Place. And that was a Grammy nominated record.
Oh yes, that song got played to death in Soul and Stereo Studios. Good Lord, wife loved that one. So that one was all over the place. But yep, another song that you would not expect was from him.
Yep. So
I mean, where you might have been about to say this, Kyle, but where is his place in history among the greats? Where do we place him?
he has to be up there as one of the best because he had album cuts and he had hit records. Normally you have the hit records and you don't have the album cuts, but he had both. He has records that aren't even singles that people still play today. Like half of that Full Moon album, like people still listen to that like it was a single, but a lot of them were just album cuts. So I think for that alone, he has to be considered one of the greats, and his ability to change with the times. Some might argue you might not be able to recognize a Darkchild record right away, and I think it might be detrimental for some people, but to me, that's a plus. He was able to switch it up multiple times.
To me, I agree. That's a plus because it shows that you're not a one-trick pony. If you created one beat that was great and you just keep making it over 1,000 times, like some of these producers today that I will not name because y'all can get in trouble. But there's some people who create a sound and they just like keep retooling it over and over again. And there were some spots where I was worried about that with Darkchild, but he has quickly shown that he can branch out beyond that. And when we talk about what made the Neptunes legendary, when it comes to the big singles, when it comes to the album cuts, when it comes to the influence, when it comes to being remembered, when it comes to launching other artists to another level, which he definitely did with Brandy and a bunch of others we discussed today. He checks all those boxes. So to me, no question, one of the best to ever do it in R&B. Don't think you.
Well, the fact we're still talking about him 25 years about after he came out is puts him in rare company anyway. So I mean, you got to say, I mean, I don't know if we're talking all time, I guess top 15, top 20, if it's of his generation, he's easily top 5.
In his generation, we're talking top 5.
Yeah, in his own generation.
In his generation, he's
all time. We're gonna do an all-time list.
I mean,
all time, I go crazy. But generation, I mean, top 3 easily. It might be, and he might not be 2 or 3. I don't know, but he's at the top of the list clearly of the producers for R&B for the past 20 years. No question.
I mean, would you rank him more highly than Gamble and Huff?
You can't compare the two.
Gamble and Huff? Good Lord. You got it. I'm gonna have to bring out, where's that meme with the dude with the chalkboard and all the stuff? That'll be me trying to figure this out.
All right.
I'm messing with you guys.
Let's do this before we wrap this up here. Your favorite 3 Darkchild records.
Oh man.
Starting
come on.
We got to do it. We've done it for everyone else. We've got to do it for Rodney as well.
I'm totally unprepared for this, but I'll just start and say Mary J's I Can Love You. Let's do that.
Man, if you're gonna say that, I don't know where you're going with number 2 and 1, but I'm curious now.
Damn, where am I going?
Ed,
I tried like to write some notes as we were talking and songs that I loved, and I got like 7 songs I'm staring at right now. I will go with If I Told You That for number 3.
Really?
Yes, I love that song. Y'all thought I was playing. I think his work with Whitney is up there with his work with Brandy.
All right. Midnight R&B edition. You're about to go to the versus battle. All right, you have fun there. I think you'll probably have to wait like 15 minutes before they actually get started.
If you think D'Angelo's starting on time, let me tell you something. You can hang with us another 20 minutes.
All right, my number 3 will be. It might have to be the Ray J record, One Wish. I know you guys don't love his singing, but my goodness.
Someone cut that guy.
Yo, he was dancing in the rain in that song.
I got the scissors right here. We cutting it.
He was dancing in the rain. You gotta love that.
Tom, I guess.
Number 2.
Oh, I'm going with Brandy.
Which one?
The whole discography.
Put that on everything. I'm going with.
I almost did that for number 3.
Do you know the intricacies of that production? It's just so smooth and mellow, but it's complex at the same time.
So, yes.
Number 2, Ed.
Number 2, I'm gonna go with Brandy, but not that one because that one was gonna be number 3, and then I threw Whitney ahead of it. I'm gonna do Angel in Disguise. That song to me is one of the songs, I won't say missed opportunity because everybody knows and loves that song. But to this day, where is the video? Where is the video? We
That's
needed
true.
a video. That was all over radio in '98. I loved it. Still love it today.
My number 2. It might have to be the Toni Braxton record. He wasn't man enough.
Really?
It's a hesitant yes at number 2. I might backtrack on that and pick like a Sierra or a Sharifa song, but I mean that Sharifa song is pretty banging too. Need a Boss. I'm gonna go with Toni Braxton, but we might switch that up. Tom,
Number 1, I'm gonna go with the same choice as, I don't know how to pronounce your name on here, Leon's V. Noel. It's Mary J. Share My World. Number 1. Love that song.
Another one that was on my list.
Love that song. I was thinking of Joe, but I can't put Joe in the top 3.
Why?
Can't do it.
Why can't you put him in the top 3?
I don't love it that much, but you know, Share My World. That's an amazing production right there.
Wait,
Yes,
who produced the Big Pun record with Joe? That wasn't Darkchild, was it?
No.
No.
Okay.
I can't remember who it was.
I'll fact check real quick while you're picking. And the results are in. Nobody.
That's
the name of the producer with it. K-N-O.
Wait, he produced a Neo song too, I think.
Wow. I have no idea.
On Year of the Gentleman. Wait, no, he didn't. Nobody is the name of the song. Never mind.
He produced
my
the Remy
God.
Ma. He produced the Remy Ma and Neo song. There you go.
Oh, so there you go. I was close.
Yeah.
I guess.
All right, Ed, number 1.
Number 1. Let's get back on track because this guy.
Oh man.
I gotta go. I love this album, y'all. Mary J's album. I'm gonna do I Can Love You as my number 1. This list will probably change if I did it again an hour later. But just right now, that's my number 1.
Wow. My number 1, and Tom, we forgot the Avant song, Mr. Dream.
That's not a very good song.
Oh, what about
or a very good production.
What about Grown Ass Man?
That's a good song.
Yeah.
That's a good one. But no, it's not top 3.
My number 1 record, and I need someone to vouch for me on this one. Brandy's When You Touch Me. That's like the best Brandy song of all time.
If you ask Twitter, it is.
Can I get some Twitter love here, guys, in the chat? Because Brandy's that song. Do you understand? I specifically, and this is a fun fact for you. When we do our interviews, we try to stay away from the album cuts because no one knows those. But I broke the rules and I asked Rodney specifically about that song because I love it so much. Because that song from top to bottom, it's like a journey. And yeah, that's like the best Brandy, best Rodney Jerkins, best R&B song, period.
It's a good song. It's another song that the love for it, I'm kind of taken aback sometimes, but it's a good song. So I can't hate.
And I'm not getting a lot of love in the comments.
No.
Oh.
You're banned pretty much for that. Or
Brand is like, good luck with that, Kyle. Your boy Theo.
You guys should have just kept me frozen.
And in the spirit,
we should have.
In the spirit of D'Angelo coming up next, can we all name one song we're looking forward to hearing from him tonight?
I'm a me and my dreaming eyes type of guy. So
nice. I'm actually just hoping to get some further understanding of the Voodoo album tonight.
Oh my, look, player. It's been 21 years. Give it up. It ain't happening for you.
I don't know, Tom. Maybe if you play it through your phone speakers, it'll sound like way better.
Yes, there we go.
That's like the last hope.
But if Brown Sugar comes on the song, woof.
Oh, man. I'm sure it'll come on. I can't see him denying you that.
Well, do you think people will start taking their clothes off once Untitled comes on? How does it feel?
I would hope not. This is what you can do what you want in your room, but just don't turn the camera on. I don't need to be seeing all that.
And then you gotta wonder if he's gonna take his clothes off during that song.
In 2021, I seriously doubt it.
I don't think he's still in shape, is he?
No. He has long let that go. He's talked about the pressure of trying to stay up in shape in the 2000 body. Kind of unfair. Let that man eat his Skittles.
Skittles are good. I think that's it for this week. We gotta get everyone over to that versus battle now. But Tom, what's going on with soulandstereo.com?
Tom, what's going on with soulandstereo.com? Is that a trick question?
Sorry, Ed.
I'm
I
paying
will-
attention.
I'll step in and do that one. So soulandstereo.com. Yeah. So we're still waiting on some actual albums to drop. So I had my boy Joey from Twitter come through and we did a head-to-head on Kendrick Lamar. I thought it was a really good one because he had some great insight into, is Kendrick the greatest artist of his generation? You can answer that for yourselves, or you can check out Soul and Stereo and see what I think and what my boy Joey thinks. And I think last week I mentioned that I went through and ranked our boy Case's albums. His discography is very underrated, y'all. So go through, check that out, see what we think about that. I think his discography is very solid. This week coming up, I don't know, since nobody drops albums anymore, maybe I'll do another ranking. Maybe I'll have another head-to-head. Probably worth digging in for another Love Letters. We'll see. It'll be a surprise.
Tom, is Wale better than Kendrick Lamar?
What?
Oh, by far, without a doubt. Ed,
I'm going to listen to D'Angelo. I ain't paying y'all no mind.
Did you hear that Wale and Lloyd song?
I don't think I had the pleasure of hearing Wale and Lloyd. No.
Oh my goodness. Sabotage? Ed, you got to go listen to that song.
I'm sure I've heard it and it went right out of my ears.
What about Matrimony by Usher? We haven't heard Usher sing like that since you reminded me.
Now that I remember. That was good. I do remember Matrimony.
All right. Tom, what's going on with You Know I Got Soul?
Well, we recently interviewed Ed's cousin. That was a great interview.
Who?
Which cousin now? I've got 10 of
Not
them.
Chris Brown. I mean, Kelly Price.
Oh, I didn't know you interviewed my aunt. That's my aunt. That's not my cousin. I didn't know you interviewed Aunt Kelly. I got to check that one out. Is it posted?
Yeah, that'll be out this week. Coming in a few days. That was a good one. A bunch of new songs came out, Kyle. I saw you put some up.
Yeah, India Shawn, go check out that record. Joyce Rice, go check out that record. Tank dropped a new record, and I'm on record to saying I like that song. So
it's not bad. It's not bad.
Tank fans, don't come for us. Yeah, a lot of great songs. I also interviewed Breland. You guys might not be familiar with him. Ed wasn't, but then I sent him the "Don't Touch My Truck" song, and he was not happy.
I was not happy. But then he sent another song, and I did like that song.
So we'll see if the third song gets to Ed. But yeah, we're staying busy here. If you guys notice, we're starting to change up the video layout for our published videos as well, just so it looks a little more professional. Not really sure how I'm gonna deal with the frozen camera today for me, but I'll work my movie magic. But I think that's it for this week. The tip of the day, I'll give this to you guys before we get out of here. For all my people, and I know it's not a lot of you guys because all of our listeners seem to be like 15, but for anyone over 30, I highly recommend that you stretch every day. Stretching is very important.
You didn't do this? Oh, see, I come to the old side of me, player. You're starting to learn life. Yes, you have to.
Oh boy.
Yes. Now we just feel old. But anyways, guy, I think we're out for this week. Everyone enjoy that D'Angelo versus, and we'll be back next week to talk about another producer. Who should we talk about? Should we talk about Jermaine Dupri?
Might be time for JD. I'd be down for that.
All right, we'll be here to talk about JD. And I also just posted our Jagged Edge interview too, so it'll tie all in. And we'll talk next week, guys. So you guys take care.
All right.